It began in Mesopotamia. And as we look at the rise of the Babylonian Empire, all right, the Medes and the Persians, the Greeks and the Romans, that as you read the prophecies concerning Daniel, we are the children of. In fact, there's a prophecy, I believe it's in Isaiah chapter 47. And 47 talks about the daughter of Babylon. And there's a passage in there, which is also in the book of Revelation. This daughter of Babylon is saying she will not suffer loss. And these two things will come upon her in a moment. And in the book of Revelation, I think it's chapter 17, Babylon is judged. The daughter of Babylon is a world system. It's the G7. It's the Gentile rule. It's the Gentiles. It's the United Nations. It's NATO. That's what it is. And we could trace the history of our present government, forms of government, back to Rome, back to Greek, back to all of that. So we are the daughter of that. It's the Gentile rule. That's what's going to be destroyed, along with apostate religion. Yes, Lenora.
We talk about, the rapture of the church and all, and I guess why does God leave the 144,000 here, and it's the 12,000 of each of the 12 tribes of Israel? Is there, obviously he has a plan for that. Is that spelled out? Am I missing that?
He's going to leave a witness is what he's going to do.
Okay.
He's going to leave a witness here, and that witness, what you have to understand, with the church gone, God's focus, and you're going to see this in Ezekiel, and you're going to see this in Joel, the focus is that God is now going to deliver Israel. Yeah. He is finished with the church. He is finished. Time is ended, and people will still be saved in the tribulation period. Right. And Jews will be saved. Now understand this, the two witnesses of Revelation, they're going to be witnessing and ministering to the Jews. And I believe they are going to be Jews. And I believe they're going to be Messianic Jews. And they're going to be witnessing to these Jews. And a lot of Jews are at the place right now, and I believe there's over 7,000 Messianic Jews right now in Israel.
Do you believe that the Messianic Jews will be taken with the church?
No. I believe they're part of the 144,000. I believe God is, and the reason why they're supernaturally protected is because they are going to be here for the tribulation, but they will not be harmed. That's why they're sealed. And so I believe they'll be protected. But still, I think there are a lot of Jews. I believe there's going to be destruction over there. And I believe some Jews will fall. But there's going to be a remnant, a faithful remnant. And in fact, when you get to Revelation chapter 14, what is it that's going to finally convince these Jews to accept Jesus as their Messiah? What did it take to convince the apostles?
It's the resurrected Christ.
The resurrected Christ. And when these two witnesses are killed, right, in Revelation chapter 11, and then their bodies are raised up, and the whole world sees it, it's going to be like, whoa. What does that mean? They were true. They were right. And you see, these two witnesses are going to be confronting the Antichrist. They're going to be confronting him. They're going to be trying to warn the world about him, and the world's not going to believe them. And in fact, in Revelation chapter 11, the world celebrates. They exchange gifts upon their death. Because if it wasn't for these two, everybody would get along. They're so divisive. Right? Sound familiar?
Yeah,
and so these two witnesses, when they die, the world's going to celebrate. He will seek to change times and seasons. It won't be Christmas anymore. We're going to celebrate this day. It's a new era. It's a new age. But he's going to go in. He's going to defile the temple. He's going to declare himself as God. And then everyone's going to know it. This is what Daniel talked about.
That's right.
He's the one. And he's going to appear to have been healed by a fatal head wound. Imagine, I'll give you a scenario. Armies gathered against Israel. The UN, as we speak, next one, takes up Palestinian state. They declare a Palestinian state. And Israel resisted. They want to implement it. They get a coalition together to force Israel to accept a Palestinian state. So the armies of the world are gathering against Israel, and they're coming against Israel, and they're preparing for war. And we're going to read in Joel chapter 2 about this. And one of the things they're going to say is, where is their God?
Yeah.
And God opens the sixth seal. Right here, boys. Right here. And God is not going to stand for it. God is going to supernaturally deliver Israel. That is the picture the scriptures paint. Interesting in Daniel chapter 4. You have a question, Lauren?
I was gonna say, isn't it kind of, you said it or someone said, I read it somewhere, it's like America isn't even talked about in this. And is that why we're doing,
We're
the
neutralized.
things that are happening to us are happening to us to keep us out of the picture? God doesn't want to send us.
Israel's going to stand
That
alone
Israel has to be.
because their deliverance can be explained by for one reason only, God.
So that's why we
Right.
are going through what we're going through.
So imagine this scenario then. So suppose this takes place, right? The world is on the brink. Oh, there's World War III. Israel will capitulate. So the armies of the world gathered, led by Russia, right? The armies of the north, comes down against the mountains of Israel, Ezekiel 38 and 39, literally going to be fulfilled. And God's bringing them down. God's bringing them down because God's going to use them to manifest himself. And so this takes place. So imagine these armies are decimated. They're supernaturally wiped out. What's the world going to know? The great day of his wrath has come. Hide us in the face of him who sits upon the throne. God's going to manifest himself. With this, the Muslims, of course, are with them, they're defeated. But out of this defeat, guess who comes to rise? The 12th Imam. The Antichrist. The one that says, we need to make peace with Israel. Let's make a 7-year peace treaty. Let's let the Jews rebuild their temple. Let's have peace on earth. That's exactly what's going to happen. That's going to be the peace treaty. They're going to allow the Jews to rebuild the temple. It's the final temple, but it's a temple that will be desecrated by this very individual. And in the midst of the treaty, the treaty will be broken, which is part of the prophecy. Now, the interesting thing about this is that Islam, what does Islam do when it's losing the battle? Remember Tora Bora? Tora Bora, when we were bombing in Afghanistan and bin Laden was trapped? Oh, let's have a peace talk. Let's have a ceasefire. And that's what they do. So when they're losing, they make a peace treaty. In fact, it's even in the Quran. And then when it's to your benefit, break the treaty. That's a tenet of Islam. So that's why I say Islam is the religion of Antichrist. You can't deny it. There's no religion that is more anti-Christ, anti-Christian than Islam. It really is. In fact, Walid Shubed, who I heard many years ago, who was a jihadist, who's now a Christian, stood up and said that whoever wrote the Quran wrote it as the antithesis of the Bible. It's exactly the opposite. And there are many books out that point out the fact that the 12th Imam is the Christian Antichrist. It's one and the same. So that's what's unfolding before us, folks. That is what's unfolding before us. And the world is worried about economics.
Exactly.
Right? It's just a means, and it's part of the judgment. And God is trying to warn the world that the day of the Lord is coming. Yeah, he's shaking things up on earth because he's getting ready to shake the heavens. Right? Any questions on that? Now, Daniel chapter 4, verse 32, I put in there. Daniel chapter 4 is an interesting chapter. King Nebuchadnezzar is proud. He's a proud, boasting man. And in fact, the hanging gardens of Babylon, all that, he's built that. And he's warned, though, in a dream. And Daniel interprets the dream for him and tells him, King, don't boast against the God of heaven. Well, it's about a year later, King comes out and looks and says, isn't this not great Babylon that I have built? And as soon as the words came out of his mouth, God took away his mind, and he was insane. For how many years? 7 years. 7 years. What is God trying to tell us here? What does Nebuchadnezzar represent? Babylon? He's the head of it. He's the head of it. What's at the end here? 7 years of tribulation for the kings of Babylon, right? And for the high ones of Babylon. And so, what's the purpose? What was the purpose of the judgment against Nebuchadnezzar in Daniel chapter 4:32? It's right there. 7 times shall pass over thee until thou know the Most High ruleth in the kingdom of men and giveth it to whomsoever he will. That's the lesson the world has got to learn. It's God who rules. It's God who sits on the throne. It's God who we need to worship. And it's very interesting to me. Here we are in the world, and what is the new religion of the world? Environmentalism.
Oh, you got it.
That's all a lie.
You got it.
It's all a lie. How many of you have heard about the polar bears dying because they can't find ice. Right? Recently, by the way, Charles Monet, I think the guy's his name, the scientist, who put forth this report that basically said that the polar bears were dying. He's being investigated now. He's been kicked out for some type of impropriety. Do you know how many polar bears have actually been documented whose cubs who have died? There has been 5 of them in a 4-year period. What? And as one of the reports goes, the polar bears are dying, we gotta do something, global warming, man's doing
That's
this.
what they tell children in school.
Exactly, because it kills
Kids
the
are coming
kids.
home talking about it.
5 polar bears in 4 years. That's the facts. You know, it's all a lie. And you know, the so-called hockey stick, the jump, false science, untrue science. Why? They need something to bring the world together. Religion, we gotta bring the religions together. So they are now pursuing a different type of religion. Mother Earth, the environment. We can all get together. I recently was listening to Mr. Dan Gaffney from WGMD and how he went to the fair recently, and the Delaware Resources, DNR I think it was called, was there, and they had a tent set up, and he said, man, I had to get out of there. It was like a religious cult. They wouldn't let you out of there unless you sign a pledge that you'll do this or do that or do this to save the environment, you know. And it was like a religious cult. They had these kids there. Yeah, exactly. And what's interesting to me, do you know what the first judgments are in the book of Revelation?
It's the trees.
Trees, the grass, the water. Why? Because you need to worship the Creator who created these things. Rather, worship the Creator rather than the created. Man is worshiping the created. So the first thing God's going to judge is His creation. He said, it's mine. I built it. I'm going to take it away from you. And He's going to burn it. He's going to burn it. And so, I mean, is this all just coincidence? It's not. These things are happening, and we are on the precipice of some amazing things happening. So as we look at that then, so this chart, any questions on the chart at all, as we look at the chart there? Any questions about anything on there? Okay, the main parts of it is like, here's the cross of Christ. In the book of Daniel, we read about the Babylonian, the Medes, the Greeks, and the Romans. You can read about it in history as well. These 4 great empires represent the world-conquering empires. The Roman Empire broke into pieces and spread throughout the earth. We're part of that. It's the 4th and the final empire. And it's today it's known in the Bible as the daughter of Babylon. The world system is going to be judged. The world isn't going to end. We've got at least another 1,000 years. This world system's coming down. And the economics is part of that.
Yep.
And so that's what we're seeing. Okay, any questions on this?
The battle of Gog and Magog. Where is that in Revelation?
It's not in Revelation. It's in the book of Ezekiel. Ezekiel 38 and 39. We're going to look at that.
Ezekiel.
Yeah, we're going to look at that. Won't be getting to that till next week probably.
2 weeks.
2 weeks, yes, I'm sorry. So again, the 6th seal then is the event that we're looking at in all this in the book of Joel. You see the flash. All right. Now, we're going to do an introduction to the book of Joel. All right?
Where is that in Ezekiel? Gog and Magog.
38 and 39.
Chapters
38 and 39. Yeah. Interestingly, at the end of the millennium, we see Gog and Magog released again. The devil's released and the armies of Gog and Magog. The armies of Gog and Magog simply are the nations of the world gathering together against God, against Israel.
Good against evil.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. It's the armies of the world, the nations of the world. You can read that in the book of Revelation. We'll see that later. Now, as far as the book of Joel is concerned, it's probably written after Judah was exiled and returned to land about 516 BC. A lot of these dates are tentative, but here's the point. It was post-exile, Israel. When Israel came back, it was after Babylon came in, 597 BC, they came in that time period, and Judah was no longer and Israel, they